Hi, dear language learners. Thanks for checking back. So today's video is about a great myth about language learning, which is that grammar is your enemy, that grammar is not good, that grammar doesn't serve. No, it is the way in which you study grammar that doesn't serve. So today's video is all about how you can actually learn the grammar without focusing on studying the grammar. Hi, I'm Dr. Alex. I'm a social psychologist and I share the fundamental rules of interactional and social psychology to help you boost your learning, your language learning, and to reach fluency far faster, far more efficient than in the traditional way that we all have seen in school. And that was useful at the time, but that I say is outdated because it doesn't train our brains for social situations. So let's start. Grammar is actually a really powerful tool to help you understand the structure of a language. So what I have come across a lot on the internet is that grammar as such is put as the enemy of language study or the demotivating thing. I don't believe so, because you need to always know a bit about the basics, the structure, the fundamental structural rules of how a sentence is put together, of how you conjugate the verbs, of how the words are, of how they look like, basically. Without that, you cannot get into the logic of the language. But, and there's a huge but, if you focus on grammar just for grammar's sake, you will not reach fluency. I mean, you will you will reach it eventually after years of study, yes. And this was my experience with English. I only was able to activate it after 10 years because I focused so much. It was actually, well, it was the late school system, and then also how I went myself about studying the language, which was repeating grammar rules for repeating grammar rules' sake. So what you need to change around is three things. The first thing, number one, is actually you need to change your study order. In order to understand the grammar behind a social situation is you need to first of all have the intention to communicate something. As soon as you have the intention to communicate something, you look up the grammar for that purpose. So just for that, you look up the grammar. And I stress that so much because that's the second step. That is the intentional small chunk of grammar that you pick. For example, in Italian at the moment, that's my fifth language that I'm learning at the moment, I only know the first person singular of the future tense because I only needed that so far. And as soon as I need the first person past tense of a verb, I will only look that up whenever I need it. So, for example, if you, in your study routine, if you prepare for a social context and you want to explain that you want to respond to a person who's asking you, have you done that? Hai fatto in Italian, and you want to say, yes, I will do, farò. In that case, if you have that social situation that you're preparing for, actually, what I do is I repeat or I study just for that purpose how is the future tense built and how is the past tense built. And I pick deliberately a past tense that is very easy to form. In this case, I have opted in Italian for the passé composé, which is almost always much easier in the Latin languages than the passé simple. So these are the French terms for that. Please drop me a comment if you want to have the references for those languages in Italian, because I actually at the moment don't know what they're called in Italian, but anyway. So the important message is, so the step one was focus on an intention that you have for a social situation. Only then dig out the grammar that explains to you how a sentence is formed for that social situation, and then leave the grammar. And the third one is then go into repetition mode. Repeat just for that social situation in your 5 minutes per day, and don't stress over, okay, so if I know now farò, How will I say the tu form? How will I say the il form? Don't stress over that. You will learn that later. The important thing is that you stick to your everyday nano. You stick to your everyday mini 5 minutes or even shorter, 2 minutes. Please also watch my video on creating your ideal study routine. That's far more important to have that micro exposure to the language than sitting there on a Saturday for 3 hours with a book studying, or with a social media post studying the conjugation of a word in the future. It will just frustrate you and demotivate you. So this is basically using, if I want to summarize this is using grammar as a tool to enable you to understand the sentence structure rather than studying and memorizing grammar rules for the grammar's sake. Actually, for fluency, if your aim is fluency in the language, grammar should just be a useful tool for you that helps you to understand the logic behind the sentence structure and not more. It's just a tool. And if you don't get it right exactly, never mind. The aim is communication and understanding each other. So drop me a comment if this resonates for you, and also drop me a comment how you go about grammar study. Let's build a community around becoming polyglots, all of us, and the joy of language learning. So see you next week in the next video, and for those of you, oh yes, who haven't yet, please subscribe, because it's so important. If you subscribe, you actually help me to grow this channel. I'm providing all this free content to share the passion of language learning in a more efficient way. And by you subscribing, you help me actually to maintain this activity. So thank you so much for doing that. And see you next week, and thanks for watching.